Well, welcome along to this week's look at the Premier League action with Titanbet.co.uk. We start with a big one, second against third at St Mary's as Southampton take on Manchester City. Welcome along then to this weekend's look at all the Premier League action with Titanbet.co.uk. Bear in mind before you put your bets on this weekend, there's a lot of European action for a lot of the big teams. Could be injuries, could be tired, fatigue, anything could play a part, so do bear that in mind. Now the biggest game of the weekend, second against third, Southampton take on Manchester City Sunday at 1:30. Not going to be an easy game for either side. Both teams playing reasonably well. City, have they turned the corner? They got a good win at home to Swansea last weekend. Southampton, a little bit lacklustre at Aston Villa. Maybe it's an opportunity for City to pick up the points at the Saints. I know Alex doesn't agree with me.
Well, Southampton were a bit disappointing against Villa. Plenty of chances in that game and they really didn't make the most of it. Bailed out by Nathaniel Clyne in the 81st minute in that game. And they need to improve. The chances were there. They were getting Bertrand and Clyne forward. But Pella and Long were disappointing for me up front and they need to do more. As for City, obviously involved in Europe in midweek. Be interesting to see how they bounce back from that and how they get on against Bayern Munich. But for me, I think Southampton could win this. I think at home, St Mary's, they've looked really strong and a Southampton win.
I think their bubble may have burst. Also on Sunday is Tottenham against Everton, battle of the Europa League boys. Spurs are woeful at home. They've lost 4 at White Hart Lane already this season. That's easily the worst in the Premier League. Everton, they're pretty good away. Everton are coming into some good form. I think Tottenham are going to be booed off again at the Lane, not for the first time this season. I'm going for an Everton 3-0, I think.
Well, that's a big statement, really. And, well, you're not going to mess about, are you? So, well, I think Everton are going to look pretty good. I think Spurs, as we've seen them struggle all season, it can't be easy for the players being booed week in, week out at home. And the form at White Hart Lane has been disappointing. Everton looking strong. Roberto Martinez has got that team working well now, of course involved in Europa League action as well, so that will have an effect on them. I too think Everton will win, but I don't think 3-0. I think they might just edge it 1-0.
How dull, it's going to be 3. Another big game this weekend, but for the wrong reasons, is Queen's Park Rangers at home to Leicester City. QPR at Loftus Road have been putting in some performances of late, not getting the points that maybe they deserve. Leicester, their away form isn't good. They've won once this season away from home. That was at Stoke. I'm going for a QPR home win. Plenty of cards flying about because neither side can afford to lose this one because they could start getting cut adrift at the foot of the table. QPR, but with plenty of bookings.
Yeah, the Foxes have been cursed really from that 5-3 victory over Manchester United. They were on the up then and looking strong. Since then, it's all gone wrong. And they're looking like a team that could well be playing Championship football next season. As for QPR, need to get back, climbing up the table. Things have started to turn around there. Charlie Austin is the man for me. Expect him to get on the score sheet. A 1-0 QPR win.
First game of the weekend, of course, is West Brom against Arsenal on Saturday lunchtime. West Brom's form has been patchy. They're not doing too bad against the Gunners side. Well, they've no dominant centre half. They've no dominant central midfielder. They've no striker. They've needed them for years. Arsene Wenger doesn't seem to get it. Pigeons learn quicker. I think it's going to be even more trouble for the Gunners on Saturday with a Baggies home win.
I think Arsenal are going to bounce back. They've only had 2 wins in the last 5, Arsenal, which has been disappointing. But players like Alexis Sanchez, they've got Olivier Giroud back from a long-term injury. I think those two will link up well. And I think they're just going to cause too many problems for the Baggies.
Burnley against Aston Villa at Turf Moor, 3 o'clock, Battle of the Clarets. It's going to be one of those games where you won't be able to get into the ground. They'll be all busting to get in. Burnley can't score to save their lives unless Danny Ings does it. Aston Villa just don't score. Or they managed to get 1 on Monday in a rather lucky draw with Southampton. It's got goalless written all over it for me, 0-0.
I think Burnley are going to nick this one. Aston Villa have been disappointing, not creating enough goals and not enough chances. And as you say with Ings, I think he'll grab one to give Burnley the win.
Liverpool against Stoke. Liverpool's slumping form is rapidly becoming a crisis for Brendan Rodgers, who's already started talking about he knows his job isn't perfectly safe forever. They need to get back on the winning trail. They won't have Daniel Sturridge. They can't score a goal without him. Raheem Sterling is not the player he was. All the pressure's on him. Steven Gerrard gets older by the week. Stoke looking to bounce back from a defeat at home. They haven't won at Liverpool since 1959. This is going to be their best chance for 50 years. I'm going for a Potters win.
I think a Potters win as well, 1-0. I'm going for Liverpool in all sorts of bother at the moment. The loss of Suarez, the injury to Daniel Sturridge, it's just killing them at the moment. The talisman, Steven Gerrard, seems to be on the way out, and I think Stoke will look to bounce back from that defeat to Burnley.
Gerrard on the way out. What a controversial guy. Manchester United versus Hull at 3 o'clock. Hull have never won at Old Trafford in the league. I don't see that changing either. Manchester United aren't particularly great. Arsenal made them look good last weekend, but Hull are poor. They lost at home again. They keep losing week after week. Steve Bruce, legend of course at Old Trafford. I don't think he's going to get much from his old friends. I'm going for a Manchester United win comfortably, 3 or 4-0.
Yeah, the Tigers are toothless at the moment, excuse the pun, and really struggling to get goals. United seems to be back on the way up, looking to secure Champions League football. I think will be their main aim this season. Titles out of reach, but as for the weekend, comfortable win against Hull.
Swansea against Crystal Palace at 3 o'clock. Gary Monk's Swans side going well. They pass it about nicely. They seem to be getting a little bit more direct, which is easier on the eye. Palace, don't take anything for granted against Palace. I'm thinking that Palace can defend for a long time. And Julian Speroni, I think they've got one of the best keepers in the Premier League. And I'm going for Palace to frustrate the Swans for long periods, maybe even right until the death. 0-0 with Swansea on top, but can't break through.
I think this one could have a few goals. Swansea have a really good defensive record, but I'm going for a 2-1 Swansea win. I think Gary Monk has done well, and they've only conceded 2 less goals than Chelsea in the Premier League, Swansea, so really hard to break down. Palace looking okay, got that win against Liverpool, but I think a Swans win.
West Ham versus Newcastle also on Saturday afternoon at Upton Park. West Ham absolutely flying. We're unlucky to lose at Everton last weekend. They've had a few injury problems. They could be getting their stars back. This could be the game of the day against the Newcastle side who've won 5 Premier League games on the trot. I'm going for a relatively high scoring one with the Hammers sneaking it by the odd goal in 5.
Well, I think it's going to be a draw, this one. I agree. Goals are plenty. I feel like a 2-2 draw is on the cards. West Ham 1 defeat in their last 6, looking strong. Everton should cause them problems as well. So goals either end, but a 2-2 draw.
Saturday evening, Sunderland take on Chelsea in the televised game. Could be a good one to watch. These games normally produce loads of goals, Sunderland against Chelsea, for one reason or another. I don't see any difference this weekend. Chelsea won't be stopped. Sunderland might get 2 or 3. Chelsea will win though. I'm going for a 5-3, 8-goal thriller at the Stadium of Light with the Blues coming away with the points.
Yeah, plenty of goals in this one. Diego Costa, Eden Hazard on show. Just don't really see where the goals are going to come from for Sunderland. They do lack a bit of creativity, and unless Stephen Fletcher's banging the goals, they have to rely on the likes of Seb Larsson to produce a wonderful free kick or something along those lines. So I still think Chelsea a 3-0 win.
That's your lot. Don't forget to check out all your latest prices with Titanbet.co.uk, and we'll be back next week with another look at the Premier League action.